Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk about a few things in this. One thing I wanted to talk about is I know some people that build an aquarium with goldfish. They order from the same place I ordered my goldfish from. And well, when they went on vacation, they had someone watch their fish, and when they came home, their fish were dead. Then they went out and got more fish. This time they got hardier fish than the ranchus like I got. And they got a comet and I believe a ryunkin. Well, those two fish died, and now they're out of the hobby. They asked me if I wanted the aquarium and if I wanted the, pumps and filters and everything else. Now, this was a case of people buying an aquarium. They had fish in the past, a long time ago, and they followed the directions of buying your substrate, putting it at the bottom of the aquarium, and buying a hang on the back filter, which they did. And this is what they're told to do repeatedly. I thought, now, keep that thought in mind. They're out of the hobby. They finally threw the towel in and gave up even being in the hobby anymore because their goldfish died. Four goldfish have died within a year, and they just finally said, enough's enough. Now, I've been on vacation for weeks, come back, my goldfish are doing fine, my tropical fish are doing fine, everything's doing fine. But I want you to keep that in your thought. This probably happens to thousands of people all the time. They follow directions, buy their bag of substrate, whatever it is, they throw it at the bottom of the tank, buy a hang on the back filter, buy their fish, and before you know it, the fish die, or the tank goes bad. So here we are, and I want you to keep that thought in your head of what I just said. Now, I got a little comment made, by a guy named Bill, and I'm going to read you exact what he said. I like content like this, talking about my channel. Useful content with science rather than opinion. That's exactly what Bill says. It's in the comment section of one of my videos, latest videos. And this is the first time I've gotten comments that people are tired of opinions. I just watched a video, in fact, when I read this, I just watched a video. And the guy, he admits this is his opinion, but he talks about a deep sand bed filter and how it consumes nitrates. And he's talking about diffusion and the nitrates diffuse. Now, it sounds logical to him. Now, the only thing I will say, he admits to him it sounds logical, so this is his opinion. No scientific fact backing up anything that he says. This is just an opinion. But this must happen a lot, especially with YouTube. And since we have so many YouTube channels, people give out their opinion. And I want to emphasize something that has been used in this aquarium hobby for over 50 plus years. And let's take this plant for example. Okay? A week ago, I did a video on how I take the devil's ivy. Now, I call it devil's ivy because that's a common name used for it. There are also other common names used for it, called the golden POTHOS is another common name for it. But in order to find out, like a plant like this, for example, what you're dealing with, are you dealing with a POTHOS or are you dealing with philodendron? Both look the same, both have the same characteristics. One just has a finer root than the POTHOS. we'll have. But this one is called devil's ivy, is a common name for it, very common name for it. Now, within 1 week, this plant, I put it in open cell basket. It's already growing root hairs out of the basket. 1 week, you're already seeing root hairs growing out of the basket within a week's time. I did not separate it like a lot of people show you separate it, but let's go on to this. There's a lot of opinion about this plant. Now, this plant's been around since the 70s. I've seen people using this plant. And when you talk about people using this particular plant, for example, if you go watch videos on it today, you will find out there's videos saying it doesn't work. You will find videos saying it does work. You will find videos that say to submerge it. You will find videos that say don't submerge it. You will find videos that say let the roots grow into your substrate to make it grow the best. You will find videos that say, like these extensions here, have the extensions grow as long as you can grow them. You will find other opinions of if you keep it trimmed, you will get a fuller plant. You have all these opinions, and yet, how are you supposed to know? Some people say that when they use this plant, it's taken all the ions out that other plants needed, and it killed their other plants. So therefore, their devil's ivy, they took it out. And you're getting all these opinions. Let me tell you something. You have to be more specific about plants of what you're dealing with. It's okay to use a common name, devil's ivy, so what, or golden pothos. People know what you're using instead of just saying pothos. Because I'll give you an example. Up north, they have Japanese maples. And if you tell someone, say, they would come in like to my garden, and they'd say, oh, what kind of tree is that? A Japanese maple. So they would go out and buy a Japanese maple, and then it would die. And they would wonder why. Well, I bought a Japanese maple. Yeah, but there's lots of different kinds of Japanese maples. And there are some that do very, very well in Chicagoland area, and some that don't. And some are touch and go. They may last a few years and then freeze. But like Bloodgood was one of the Japanese maples. Those are touch and go, for a Japanese maple. But if you don't tell people the name, like the Japanese maples that do the best up north are called Burgundy Lace. Now, the Burgundy Lace Japanese maple sells first. So if a garden center gets Japanese maples in and they get the Burgundy Lace in first, they're going to sell first. They do the best. But you have to let people know, I want a Burgundy Lace. Then what they're left over usually is the Bloodgoods. Those are touch and go. They could do great, and then they could die off. But the Burgundy Lace seems to do the best because it can take direct sunlight and they can take shade. So some of the Japanese maple can only take shade. Some of the lacier ones can take only shade only. You have to watch where you put them. And that's what I'm talking about, these plants. People got to know what you're talking about, even if it's a common name. They have to know, well, what are you using? But no one ever says that. They just say, pothos. Okay, which one are you using? We don't know. We want to know what you're having success with. What plant are you using? That's like saying philodendron, pothos. There's 400 different kinds of pothos out there. Just like there's over 400 different kinds of philodendron out there. Well, which one are you talking about? We don't know. Which one are you having success with exactly? which ones aren't working, which ones are working, than just saying a common name of pothos. That doesn't tell anybody anything. But if you go by the gold pothos, or you go by the devil's ivy and come up to a greenhouse and say, oh, I'm looking for some, they'll direct you to this plant exactly and say, well, this is the plant you're looking for. Okay. Now, within 1 week, this plant has grown its roots out and everything else. Now, the point I was making here is the fellow who did the video that I just watched talking about a deep sand bed and how it takes care of nitrates. Well, he even admits, in my opinion, he says, this is the way it should work. Well, that's not the way it works. Okay, it's his opinion. And people listen to this, people giving their opinion. And like the people I told you that are now out of the hobby, they listen to these people that gave their opinion without backing it up ever with scientific proof. They don't back it up with anything the universities are teaching, nothing that the colleges are teaching. They don't back it up with anything. It's just an opinion they're giving, and people listen to that opinion as being truth. And when you listen to people giving their opinion, and it's not the truth, this is why people, like I explained, have the goldfish aquarium, and now they don't have it anymore. Because they listened to people, this is the way you're supposed to set it up. They did exactly, and it failed. They weren't successful. A lot of people will listen, even when it comes to plenum and everything, and they start switching ingredients. I want to switch this, I want to switch this, I want to do something different, I want to do this, and then when it doesn't come out the way they thought, then, of course, is it their fault or it becomes my fault? Of course, it's my fault. They changed something, it didn't work, and now it's my fault. So, what I wanted to bring up here in this video is, do these plants work? Well, after 50 years plus of using these plants in aquarium, we cannot settle on an agreement. Do they work or don't they work? There is no positive scientific proof out there. Do these work or don't they work? You notice that in 50 years, people are still debating that I used them and they didn't do any good. My nitrates are still 40, 80 parts per million, and I have, the devil's ivy in my aquarium. And, well, is there any scientific proof that if you cut them to get them fuller? I mean, this is what they do in greenhouses. They will have, anyone who's watching this who owns a greenhouse knows what I'm saying. You have a geranium, and you can buy seed geraniums, or you can buy a geranium that looks real nice and full, and you say, well, how come that geranium looks different than a seed geranium? The seed geranium looks kind of pukey, but this geranium that costs $1 or $2 more, it looks good. Because what they do, just like with all terrestrial plants, they have a mother plant. And the mother plant, they take trimmings up, and then they put them in a hormone, and they plant trimmings from a mother plant. That mother plant gets all taken down for the greenhouse, and they may have several of these mother plants, and then they grow their geraniums from there, and these come up to be beautiful geraniums compared to seed geraniums, which look kind of thin, and they're cheaper though than using a mother plant, because it takes time to do cuttings, put hormone on the cutting, put that cutting in a pot. Then you get a better geranium. It's the same way with this. People say, well, you shouldn't cut it, it won't work as well. Well, is that your opinion? Did you do any research or tests on what you're telling people? I mean, this has been going on using these plants, and I have it in books, and I have it in literature, periodical literature and everything. This plant's been used over 50 years, and we still cannot decide, does it work or does it not work? And if it did work, and it was a sure thing, why isn't everybody using it? Well, for one reason, it's a plant that needs to have light. And added light, like let's say you're using these can lights here because they're higher up. Pictures I've seen in very old books, which are 40-year-old books, the lights are high. And the lights are expensive. And then they have their, devil's ivy growing, helping clean the water of the aquarium. This is an expense when you can just buy a strip light. But the strip light would have to be higher up. And as I explained in some of my videos, if you take a strip light, let's say it's a 3-foot strip light or a 4-foot strip light. Now each one of these are 4,000 luminous output. Now you get a strip light that's 4 foot long. They're usually about 4,000 luminous output. The trouble is they only put out about 1,000 per foot. So this is putting 4,000 out. All here, 4,000. But when you get a strip light, you got 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. You understand what I mean? So you're not putting that intense light out. So now you have to buy specialty lights to have something like this. Within a week's time, you can already see hair roots popping out of the basket within 1 week. Usually terrestrial plants, when you transplant them, go into a shock. One of the plants that don't go into shock, if you take them out of a pot and transplant it, is like a mum, for example. They don't go into a shock. That's why you can buy them at the store, you can put them into the ground, and they look good. They don't go into a shock. Most plants that you take, pull them out of a pot, you are going to shock them. Just like these plants, the 2 devil's ivy that I put in, they should be going into a shock, but they didn't go into too much of a shock if you already start seeing hair roots poking out of the baskets within 1 week. That's 1 week's worth of growth. And that's pretty good growth for a plant that supposedly went into shock. So the question has to be asked, why is it doing it? Well, is it because this is outside? No. In the lanai? No. It gets enough light to grow because I have lots of devil's ivy in my lanai. But see, they're aided by these lights, which are putting out 4,000 luminous output, 4,000 lux onto these plants, and that's why they're growing so fast, because it's almost like they're getting direct sunlight. So this would explain to us why not everybody's using them, because if the plant has more shade, it is going to slow down. It's not going to photosynthesize as much. And a lot of plants that are considered to be terrestrial plants, that are considered to be shade plants, also have the ability to take sun. A lot of them do. But they will tolerate more shade and still live. It doesn't mean that they are 100% a shade plant, like some of your hostas, for example, or if you put them out in the sun, they'll just burn up. But a lot of them can go either way. They can take sun, or they can take shade. These plants, even though they're for low light or moderate light, actually can take a very high light in order to grow their best. So if you had, let's say, fluorescent tubes or LED tubes above here, these would actually grow better than a person who would have their light onto the aquarium, okay, and they were more in a moderate light or low light. So the whole point of this video is 50 years we've been dealing with these plants, and nobody can come up to a conclusion whether or not they work. So if you want to use such a plant, such as the devil's ivy, like this, which you can buy at any hardware store, okay, you have to think to yourself, it may not do what you expect it to do. You have to have the right lighting. A lot of plants that people put into their aquariums, sometimes plants do not like a lot of water movement by their roots. Once again, that's why I put these in a pot, because they do like movement, but not a lot of fast water movement going through their root systems, the same as your aquatic plants. They like movement, but it's got to be very, very slow going past their root system. The faster the water flows, they don't seem to do as well, and they wind up dying on you. So I thought that was pretty funny that we do have a lot of people making videos that have opinions, and anytime they criticize, and I always come up and say, okay, I understand you can criticize me. Show me what you do in the scientific proof. And, well, they can't. Well, where's the scientific proof that what you are doing is correct? And I'll be more than happy to listen to you. Show me. Well, they can't, because it's an opinion. It's like filters and everything else. People don't show you anything to back up what they're saying. They just say it because it's their opinion. And to them, like the guy with the deep sand bed, it should work this way because it sounds logical to them. Well, that's like me saying, well, you know, if you put a V8 engine into a car, it should be able to go 300 miles an hour. And someone would look at me and, but see, that sounds logical to me because I only drive a car with a little 4-cylinder. So if you're doubling the cylinders, it should easily go 200-300 miles an hour. And then someone who knows what they're talking about is going to come up to me and say, well, that's your opinion, but you're wrong. You know, you got to supercharge these engines. Depends on your piston size. You know, as one professor said to me, nothing replaces cubic inches. You get a nice big engine in there, nice big pistons, supercharge, and everything else. You come up with horsepower. But I could say, well, in my opinion, it should at least, if my car can do with a 4-cylinder over 100 miles an hour, an 8-cylinder, which should be easily 200 miles an hour, it should be twice as fast. But see, that's an opinion. That's not fact. It's just my opinion that I just gave you. We see a lot of this in the aquarium trade. So be very careful when you watch these videos of people. They're giving you their opinion, not anything that's scientific. Like, I'll give you another thing. The Diane Wallstadt method. You put dirt in your aquarium and your plants will grow better. Well, guess what? I have an experiment going on right now that is coming out not the way people would think. I have one crypt and a pot, a clay pot that can breathe, full of dirt, Miracle-Gro dirt that has all kinds of nutrients in it. It's designed that way. They have all these nutrients in it to make your plants grow great. I didn't even clean it. Put the dirt directly in the pot. Put the crypt, Lindenti, right in the pot. Cover it with some stones. So all the roots now go through there's a little bit of stones to stop the dirt from coming out. All the rest of that pot is nothing but dirt. Then I took a pot and I put it in an open cell basket, like I planted up these, an open cell basket. And all I did was put kitty litter in. Nothing else, just kitty litter. No iron, no nothing, just kitty litter. Put the crypt in there. And I'm not seeing this huge difference between the two plants. The one that has all this fertilizer, nitrogen, and phosphates from the Miracle-Gro dirt, and the one that's just planted in kitty litter. In fact, the plant that's in the open cell basket with the kitty litter is doing better than the plant in the pot that has the Miracle-Gro. You can see it photosynthesizing better. I have all kinds of films on it. You can see it bubbling twice as much as the one. I've been taking all the pots because someone said, well, move the pot from the center of the light, this, the center of the light, move them, and I have every week. I rotate them, the pots. So 1 week it'll be here, 1 week it'll be here, 1 week it'll be here, the pots. So they all are exchanging their position. So one of them gets to go directly underneath the Asta 120 light, and the others move a little bit off center from this. And I still see the pot that has the kitty litter and the open cell basket performing better than the pot that has all the nutrient soil. Now, once again, this is the way people say, I'm using the Diane Wallstedt method. I'm not seeing a great advantage of actually putting dirt and soil in your aquarium versus just using baked kitty litter like I'm using. I'm not seeing the advantage. The only thing I'm seeing though, now this is once again a theory, is because fluids are able to move more freely in an open cell basket, much like that of a plenum. Fluids are able to move more freely. They're able to attract the ions out of the aquarium, such as ammonia, since that's what our plants are looking for, ammonia, and able to then feed the root system of the crypt that's in with the kitty litter. Versus the other pot, the plant has to now take that phosphates and nitrogen and convert it back into ammonia, which is chemical work. Okay, so 1/3 of its energy is being used to convert nitrate into nitrite and then into ammonia. So 1/3 of its energy is gone. Where the other pot that has the kitty litter, it doesn't have to use 1/3 of its energy to break down ammonia. It's already being attracted in with other ions or pollutants that are in the aquarium. Plus, it's an open cell basket, so fluids can move more freely through the basket. Just like natural systems, fluids move freely through them. All natural systems lose water because fluids are moving through the system very slowly, but they are moving. Where the one in the clay pot, which would be like if you just put it on the bottom of your aquarium, I don't see the fluids moving freely as much as the other pot. Now, this is just an experiment I'm doing to find out, to see, and to show you which one seems to be doing better. And so far, of everything that I've been seeing, looking at it every single day, the plant that's in the open cell basket with the kitty litter is photosynthesizing twice as good as the one that is in Miracle-Gro soil. So what am I supposed to come up with? I'm going to keep them, but I'm not seeing any fantastic growth. As people would say, I'm using soil in my aquarium. I don't see any fantastic growth. I mean, in my 90-gallon, I have a crypt that's over 18 inches tall. It's over 1.5 years old. That doesn't have any soil in it. The point, I'm just telling you, this shows you that where is the scientific proof? Where have people actually done experiments to show people that, hey, I did this experiment? Now, it doesn't mean positively that something will happen, because when you do experiment, you have to do it several times. A lot of hobbies feel, oh, I don't have to do it several times. I did experiment once and it's good enough. Well, it doesn't quite go down that way. It doesn't quite happen that way. I mean, that's why it's taken so long to cure cancer, diabetes. It doesn't quite happen where you can do one experiment and say, that's conclusive. No, my experiment is not conclusive, but it's kind of showing right off the bat that why is one plant doing better than the other, yet one plant has no soil at all in it and nutrients. So it must be getting its nutrients somewhere, somehow. So, that's what this is basically about, that opinions hurt this hobby because people just give their opinions and they don't give any scientific proof to back it up. I've always tried to back up what I say by saying, well, this is what your professional public aquariums do. This is what your universities are teaching people. This is how the nitrogen cycle is, that it breaks down ammonia into nitrites, nitrates, and then through dissimilatory denitrification, through anoxic conditions, is how it finishes the nitrogen cycle. I did that in a few things to show you this is how our wastewater management deals with water. They use anoxic conditions to finish the nitrogen cycle of breaking down nitrates into nitrogen gas. They do not use what other hobbies are claiming breaks down nitrogen, because a lot of times a deep sand bed will only produce ammonia, and you cannot have ammonia as an end byproduct to send off in a wastewater treatment plant off to a river or lake. You can't have that. It's against the law. It's not permitted. We have laws here that won't permit that. So there are set rules and laws and regulations on what they have to do and how clean they have to make that water. And usually the water has to come out a lot cleaner than what it came in at. So I thought I would do this video. It's a shame that the people had the goldfish. They died. It's a shame that they did exactly what these YouTube channels are telling them to do. It's a shame that people use a plant like this, the devil's ivy, and it doesn't do what they expected it to do, and they complain or they don't use it. And after 50 years of using this, shouldn't everybody be using it, saying, well, it works, that's the end of the story, it works. But it doesn't. It doesn't work for everybody because everybody is different. Their lighting system's different. How they set it up is different. A lot of people will tell you all kinds of ways. I use a hook. I let the roots dangle in there. Then other people complain that, well, the fish would eat the roots. And, it just goes on and on and on after 50 years, how this plant, either it works or it doesn't work. And after 50 years, we can't even conclusively say, yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. And that's 50 years of using this plant. We can't conclusively come up with, does it work or does it not work? It works for some, doesn't work for others. So I thought this would be a good video, because you do get a lot of people with opinion out there that will give you their opinion for something that sounds logical. And in fact, it's not. They should give you the facts of what is known, so we can base everything off of facts and not somebody's opinion that they think it should be doing what they're doing. After all, a V8 engine should go twice as fast as a 4-cylinder engine, right? So if my little 4-cylinder can do over 100 miles an hour, the V8 should be 200 miles an hour. It doesn't quite work that way. But anyhow, this is Dr. Novak. I want to thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe. And I'll try to get more video content out. This video was basically just get you to think about, how can this plant be used for over 50 plus years and still there's nothing conclusive on it? There's nothing out there conclusive on it. 50 years of use in the hobby, nothing conclusive. What is conclusive that I found out is, yes, overhead lights onto the plant, they perform better than if you just depend on your natural light in your room. But anyhow, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below, and thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, happy fishing.